Hello everybody, good day and welcome to the Little Farmer's Farm with me, Guru Murphnda. It's a lovely day today. Bit cold and overcast this morning, but this afternoon, it's partly cloudy, but mostly sunny. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be getting some more potatoes out, some more shallots and onions in, and generally cracking on. Doing some bucket growing. I'll show you that. I've just actually done 8 buckets and put 16 of the Maris Piper, which are a main crop potato, into these buckets. I'll show you. Now those are 30 litre buckets, as favoured by Simplify Gardening, Tony O'Neill. And if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. We've been growing in buckets now for the last 4 years, and what we do is we'll get the bucket halfway up, we'll put the compost in, just a bog standard multi-purpose compost. That's all that's going into that, along with the bloodfish and bone meal. A cup of bloodfish and bone meal. So that goes in, we half fill the buckets, put the bloodfish and bone meal in, stir them all around together, and then we plant the potatoes in a hole, which we make with our fist. And so they're about maybe 2.5–3 inches off the bottom. 2 potatoes are going into each one of those, of the main croppers, and the potatoes will grow above that throughout that soil medium that we put in the compost mix that we put in. The top half of the buckets, we don't put any amendments in. We don't put any feed into them, into the top halves, because you don't need to. They're going to be getting the comfrey feed periodically throughout the growing season. So over the next sort of 4.5 months, those potatoes will be growing along happily, hopefully, inside there. Just got to keep an eye on the moisture levels. They don't get too dry, they don't get too wet. But apart from that, Bob's your uncle. I'm going to be doing some more potatoes, so I'll show you the process. See you in a bit. That's the remaining 12 of the Maris Piper. And as you can see from those, these are the chits that are coming through on them. So I'm not going to bother taking any of the chits off because I just want potatoes. I'm not going for the big, really big potatoes. I'm not going for mass abundance. I'm just going for a standard crop. The roots from the potato plant grow where the chits come. From the base of the chits, they'll grow out from there and they'll seek the nutrition. They'll go below and to the sides looking out for that nutrition. And then the horns come up. These chits become horns then. And that's your actual growing stems that come out from the plant, from the potato plant. And the potatoes will grow around where your seed potato is and above where the seed potato is. But we found from experience they'll only grow sort of like 8 to 10 inches above where the seed potato is. You can try the tyre technique and all the rest of it and the towers. And they do work, I believe. But certain potatoes doesn't really matter. I don't want to waffle on, but all we're going to be doing today is planting them in buckets. So I'll just show you the process. The buckets we're going to be using are the Tesco buckets. I'm going to get 12 Tesco buckets together. Okay, so I'll show you those. And these are sort of like 20 litre buckets. The ones outside are 30. So the 20 litre ones are going to be slightly smaller as a growing medium. I'm only going to be putting one of those main crop potatoes in each one of those buckets. You could probably potentially get away with putting 2 in if you were going for your first earlies. They tend to be a smaller potato. You take them sooner, so they don't get the chance to grow really big. You want a kind of abundance of small, succulent potatoes, which we are going to be doing as well. We're going to be doing the Red Dukes of York and the shallots. But let's get these in first of all. I'll show you the principle. And yeah, many of you experienced gardeners will know all about this, but please bear with us because there's a lot of newbies joining on to the Little Farmer's Farm. And maybe, I don't know, maybe some of you guys will get a couple of tips as well. But we'll see. All right, catch you in a bit. Okay, so I was curious as to how many litres these buckets hold. So that's 5 litres. That water bottle there, and it's just taken 4 of them to fill it. Therefore 20 litre those buckets. Right, I'm going to be a little bit short of squeezing 4 buckets out of 1 bag of compost, but we'll see how we get on. Alright, okay, so we know that those are the 20 litre, which is the volume within the container, 10.5 inches wide, 12 inches long and 12 inches deep there, and we're going to be filling them up right to the top. All you have to do with these is you've got to tape up where the holes are. There's handle holes either side. That's just Gorilla tape. You can use standard duct tape, which will cost you about a couple of quid, but you'll be able to do, oh bloody hell, 100 buckets with that. And then we need to get the drainage in, the drainage holes, because these are made for storing water for the cut flowers at the Tesco store. Obviously they're watertight, no holes in them. So all we're going to do is we're going to be drilling 6 holes in the bottom and a hole either side, just about 1 inch maybe up from the bottom, not even 1 inch, couple of centimetres down, just so that they don't get waterlogged. Okay, you've got the adequate drainage in there, because you don't want the potatoes to be too wet, because then you'll get the rot off of the spuds. But it's a bit of a the only thing with potatoes is it's not an exact science really, potato growing. The principles are the same. They need to have a certain amount of feed, they need to be kept not in a too dry and arid state, so they've got to be moist, the soil's got to be moist, so that the tubers can expand and grow. But if you do it too much, if you get too much water, that's where you get the splitting. Like with root vegetables, you'll get the splitting of the actual tuber or the roots, because it's had too much at once and split the skin. And but yeah, if you have too much water, you can get them so they're sat in the water and then they rot off and go soft and manky, which again you don't want. But Mother Nature generally knows best if you're planting them outside. Some years you'll get great crops, some years you'll get not so great crops, but you'll get potatoes. Potatoes will happen, boys and girls. They always do. So that's a little drill driver. And that's an 8mm bit. Unfortunately, I've not got a bigger bit than that. You'd really want it to be about 3/4 of an inch, I guess. But then you only need like 4 in the bottom. So because we've not got the larger auger bit or whatever, we're just going to use that. We're going to get 6 in the bottom and 1 on each side. Dead easy. You've seen this before if you've been a long-term viewer. Can't do it one-handed. I'll get them all in, because I need to do all of these ones. All right. Like a Henry Ford production line. You can have them in any colour, as long as it's black. So I've taped up all the handle holes, done all the drillings in the buckets. As you can see, there's 1 on each side, and then you've got the base. Just let this lady get past. So our next step is we're going to half fill those buckets with the compost, and then mix in our bloodfish and bone, half a cup of bloodfish and bone per bucket as we go along there, and that should be enough fertilizer feed for each potato that goes in. More than enough really. Hopefully we're going to get about £3 or a good £2.5 or a kilo out of each one of those buckets, and there's 12 of them. So yeah, I mean, if we get £3 out of each bucket, I'll be extremely happy with that. Yeah, 36 pounds of potatoes out of those buckets would be fine and dandy for me. And those are the 12 that we're going to be putting in. Right, Tony, crack on. All right, they're about half full now. All of them. 4 big double-handed scoops of the compost in each one of those, and so far it's taken about a full bag of compost, right, to go in there and half fill them. So if we're lucky, we'll get away with 2, but I doubt it, because we shouldn't really. 1 bag should barely fill the 4, to be honest with you. If these are 20 litre buckets and that's a 75 litre bag, we're going to need more compost, which we've got. That's fine. So it's going to be a good 3 to fill. Into there now, we're going to be putting the bloodfish and bone, which is over here, and it's half a cup of this per bucket. So if I just go like that and call that half a cup, into each one of those buckets all the way along. That's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to twizz it all around using my adamantine claws. I mean, you can use your garden fork, because I've got a garden fork over here, but I like to get my hands dirty, me, so that's what I'm going to be doing all the way across. Get them all half a cup each into the, swizz it around, all in the bottom half of the bucket. Alright, just give it a right good mix through. Quite thorough. You can tell by this compost that it's quite lumpy and it's quite twiggy as well. There's quite a few twigs in it. It's not very well rotted down compost at all, to be fair. It's not bad. It's not fantastic, is it? But for potatoes, that doesn't matter. For carrots, you get some interesting results, I bet, from this, but no need to sieve it, no need to do anything like that to it, but you do need to give it a good work through that mix so it's all evenly mixed. As you're doing that, all the big lumpy, clumpy bits can be broken down anyway by the use of your adamantine claws. But that's all you need, really, for potatoes. It doesn't have to be a fine tilth, it doesn't have to be a fine mix at all. Potatoes aren't fussy. So I'm going to go along all the way, mix this all together like I've done with these first 2, and then we're ready for planting the spud in. Now, what we want to do when we're planting these spuds in is maximise our spud growing space, if you like. Now, you don't want them sat on the bottom of the bucket, but just a couple of inches, 2.5 inches, something like that, above the base. We take our potato, make a little hole, which is about 2.5 inches above the base. Pop him in, and Bob's your uncle. Now, because the chits are coming on from that, let's turn it that way a little bit, I think, so they can grow and emanate from the seed potato. I'm just going to do that. Cover it up. Cover it up then with the unfertilised compost, the standard, just normal compost, no amendments to it. Top it up to the very top, and Bob's your uncle. Just need to be watered in then, and then I'm going to leave them. Some people say you don't even have to water them because there's enough moisture within the potato to do the job, but it'll not hurt. We've had dry conditions. I'll just moisten the water. Moisten? Is that a word? Moisten? Anyway, it'll be about 40% saturation. So yeah, I'm going to be putting into each bucket probably around about 5 litres or something like that of water into each bucket, then leave them. The potato will get the idea and fire on. So yeah, that's all I'm going to be doing now. I'm going to be putting the potatoes in a couple of inches from the bottom, covering them over, and then stacking it up with more compost. So I'll crack on. Yeah, just twizz them round on top, because the chits are quite short and stout. They're not going to be in much danger of snapping off at this stage. When they get long and spindly, then that's not very good, because you tend to snap the chits. The horns, quite a few. Some of them have got 3 or 4 chits on, some of them only got 1 or 2. But like I say, I'm not that particularly bothered about quality control on this, because it's not an experiment or anything. We're just going to get them in the ground, and away they go. Stack it all off now with the further compost. Get them up to the top level, about 1 centimetre or 2 from the top, just enough space to get some watering in. The soil will sink down not substantially, but it should sink down around about another centimetre or two when the rain gets to it. If it drops too much, I can just top them off later. But I want the full bucket, the full 20 litres, and see what happens with that. There you go. No, it took 3 bags of the compost, so that's £12 for the compost. I would say 50p per bucket for the bloodfish and bone. So yeah, about £1.50. The seed potatoes, there's one of them gone in, that's another 10p. So yeah, £1.60 a bucket. We're hoping to get about £3. If I get £3 out of it, that's going to be great. But we should get £2.5 out of each at least of those buckets. And out of these ones, £3 to £4 at least. We might even get £5 out of them because there's 2 seed potatoes in each bucket. But we'll see. It doesn't always work out at that simple equation that I've just fathomed in my mind there. But this is the beauty of spud growing. You never know quite what you're going to get. It's a bit like life is like a box of chocolates. Life is like a bucket full of spuds. So again, space is of the essence. So I've got to decide where I'm going to put these. I've got a good idea where I'm going to put them, and that is here, in between the big potato bed and the Bradley's cage. But I need to clear all that crap out from there so I can actually get them down there. I don't want to put them too close to this, because when the big potato plants come out of there, which again are Maris Piper, they'll start to spill over this side. I'll try and cordon them, aka in the same manner that Tony O'Neill does at Simplify Gardening. I'll try and cordon them so that the foliage doesn't go all over the place. But I've got to be mindful of that. I leave about an 18-inch gap down the side of that bed, and then I'll put the buckets down there at the side of Bradley's cage. Let's crack on. There you go. If you're local, that's where we get our compost from. It's a good nursery, is that? Lots and lots of things to buy. Okay, boys and girls, I think it's time to get these shallots out. That's Mick, that pipping his on. Magical Michael Derbyshire of Old Mac Derby's farm, that. These need to go out. It's 6 o'clock at night now. In fact, it's just gone 6 o'clock at night. So I've only got probably about another half an hour to go, really, before I need to get off and get something to eat, because I've had nothing to eat yet. And that's no good for a diabetic. These are going to go out. I'm going to find a spot for them, because otherwise they'll have grown to full fruition without ever leaving the door. That's as decent a spot as any, isn't it? At the end of the strawberry bed there. We'll get them in there. Those baskets I was showing you the other day, they're handy. You can just carry things around in them, and you can stack them on top of each other. But it's just to get stuff out, really. It's quite a handy little thing. Portugal, Holland. Anyway, so I've got a bit of that compost left there, probably about 20 litres or so. I'm going to top that bed off with that, I think, as well. Add that in. Get the bone meal in with it as well, because that's what your alliums like. Those shallots will love the bone meal. Alright, it's peeing down now, and I don't have a jacket. The wind's picked up and I'm cold, but there's always tomorrow. We'll get those out tomorrow. In fact, I'm going to try and get all the alliums out tomorrow, and at least that's one job totally ticked off. And tomorrow we're going to get that tomato bed that's up in Tiki Tunnel 2 sorted out, get all that prepped up, raise up the level, and well, raise up the borders so I can raise the level of the soil, get all that worked in and sorted out, so it's going to be ready for the other tomatoes that we're putting in there. I've got 4 more tomato plants that I'm going to be putting in tomorrow. And then we'll take the suckers off from them and create even more, and we'll fill those tunnels up with tomatoes. So I'll catch you tomorrow. Alright, have a cracking night tonight. It's Saturday night, don't get too drunk. You're up for the plots in the morning. Alright, we love you all. I've been Guru Murphnda. You've been fantastic, fragrant and beautiful as always if you're a lady. And if you're a gentleman, you've been forthright, masculine and virile. And yeah, we'll catch you later on. Take care, boys and girls. See you later. Bye bye. Well, that was pretty sudden, that downpour, and I'm pretty sodden. I'm going to have to leave those buckets of potatoes outside, the small ones, the 20 litre buckets, because I've no jacket and it's freezing and I'm wet through. I'll be back on the plots tomorrow morning though, at 8 o'clock, something like that, so I'll sort them out then. Right, catch you later guys, take care.